So this video might be all over the place, but that's kind of the point. So let's dive in. A little bit about me. I am 24 years old, hold for applause. And as most of you know, that is a very weird, tension filled part of life where you're kind of in a limbo where you have no idea what you're doing day to day. And that's how I'm feeling. And if I'm going to be really honest, I'd say there's no areas of my life that are where I want to be completely. A little dissatisfied with most things to an extent. When I say that out loud, it sounds dramatic, but today we're talking about perfection, and these are very intertwined. My life situation and perfection. I'm someone who constantly has a billion different ideas racing through my head. And unfortunately, that's all they end up being, ideas. They sit there forever and ever and ever. I've created a little metaphor for the ideas that rot in my brain, and today I'm going to call them the idea graveyard. It's where all of my big hopes, dreams, and ideas that I have for the day, the week, the month, the year, the rest of my life, it's where they go to die. A slow, painful death, unfortunately. And obviously, as the years go by, this graveyard gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, my spatial awareness is not the best, but it's many, many acres at this point. So, as this idea graveyard has grown in square footage, I get more and more frustrated with myself. And if any of this resonates, perfect. This frustration that I direct towards myself is not the best motivator to actually get up and do these things that I'm upset about not doing, right? So it creates this beautiful, torturous cycle that I find myself in, which just creates more dead ideas. What is going on? Like, what is happening? Why can none of these plans turn into something tangible? And one of the culprits that I discovered was perfectionism. I've always defined myself as a perfectionist. And when I was younger, I coined that as like a very positive term. I thought the fact that I was a perfectionist is what helped me do well in school. It's what helped me perform my best as an athlete, etc., etc. But I'm starting to see all the different ways in which it's becoming a detriment to my own progress and my success now in my life. Now that I'm like face to face with all of these unfinished ideas, I'm realizing that it's like I'm talking a big game like in my head to myself, but I don't have enough externally to show for the big game that I'm talking up here. And I want to be clear, that's not to say that I haven't accomplished anything in my 24 years of life. There's plenty of things that I've done, that I've been, and that I'm extremely proud of and look back on fondly in my life. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that there's not room to grow. I think it's important that we hold space. I think it's important that we make room for those two things to exist simultaneously. We can be proud of things we've accomplished while also acknowledging, okay, we're not where we want to be and we've kind of let a lot of things fall to the wayside. So I thought, what better time than now, the start of a new year, 2026, to sit down with myself and with you guys and talk about perfectionism, the ways that it might be holding us back that we hadn't thought about, and not necessarily to fix or eradicate our perfectionism, but to operate and progress in spite of it. Okay. Acknowledge that it's here, but don't let it hold us back. Let's talk about it. Also, quick introduction, my name is Alexis, and I've had this channel for a while, but I take frequent breaks and switch up content styles. And this is a new format I'm trying. And one of my resolutions for this year is to stick with this. So I hope I will be seeing you quite a bit this year in 2026. Let's jump back into our topic. So, when I think about perfectionism, when I read about perfectionism, when I hear about perfectionism, I see a lot of the same stuff. It's you're too hard on yourself. Finishing something is better than it being perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. You're overthinking. Nobody cares about this as much as you do, etc., etc. All of this advice, it's great. It resonates with me like in the moment. It's very logical. I read it and I go, "Yes, that is correct." but why can't I flip a switch in my brain, right? Then I started to think, okay, where does this perfectionism come from? Like, why is my brain yearning for perfection? What is it giving me? Our brain's function, our body's function is to keep us alive, keep us protected. And those things don't necessarily coincide with us living a happy, fulfilled, grateful, and progressive life, right? There's a difference between like survival and like thriving. What is perfectionism giving to me? What is perfectionism like protecting me from? Why does this feeling keep coming up? And the answer to this is going to be different for every single person, right? We all have different motives and fears and past experiences that dictate how we respond to certain things. So of course I'm going to be sharing my perspective, and hopefully something resonates. I deduced that for me perfectionism isn't necessarily just about high standards, but it's about control over a lot of things. But I used to think it was control over the outcome. For example, putting out a YouTube video, it's like, okay, this needs to be perfect so that way I have control over how the video looks, how it sounds, what I'm saying, etc. I truly think for me, it's all about having as much control as I can over how I'm perceived by other people, which sucks. Because it's really annoying to admit that you care quite a bit about what other people might think about you, especially when logically on one side that doesn't make any sense and that you shouldn't, but emotionally on the other side, obviously your body and your mind are reacting in ways that say otherwise. The high standards, right, that I'm trying to achieve or that we're trying to achieve are really just like a mask or a cover of some sort that protect us from being more vulnerable, putting out the unfinished thing, saying something wrong, having a weird idea. Waiting until it's perfect allows us to avoid being seen as imperfect. Maybe about a year ago, the idea of like the fear of being seen trying, I heard that phrasing quite a bit on social media, and it really struck a chord with me because I was like, that's like exactly what this is. The fear of not being at 100%. The fear of not being perceived as being at 100%, the fear of not being perceived as confident, the fear of not being perceived as prepared. That's scary. When that resonated, I said, okay, cool. Great, we're making progress. But then it's like, okay, I need to go a step further, which is like really annoying. What is so wrong with being seen trying? Like, why am I terrified of that? What happens if other people see me trying? Like, what happens if, God forbid, someone sees me doing something and says, "Oh, she's not good at that. Oh, she's not prepared. Oh, that sucked. That was horrible." Like what inner truths fall apart when that happens? What happens when I'm not perceived in the way I'd like to be perceived? And that's where I stopped. I literally don't have an answer for you, but those are the types of things that I was kind of contending with, that I am contending with. Cuz I don't know. I don't know what happens when I'm not perceived in the right way. Probably because all my ideas go to the graveyard and then I never give myself a chance to be seen failing horribly. Let's continue to explore. Come down the rabbit hole with me. If I have all these projects, unfinished projects in my graveyard that are there because they were never deemed perfect in my eyes, right? Then, by all intents and purposes, you could say that at least that many times I've never achieved perfection. Now, let's go into an example. This YouTube video. I've been wanting to make sit down chat casual videos like this for like over a year now. But I would put in place all of these criteria. Oh, my background has to be perfect. Oh, I need to get prettier. Oh, I need to get skinnier. Oh, my hair needs to look better. Oh, I need to be saying the perfect thing, the perfect sentence, the perfect vocab. I need to have the perfect topic. I need to be saying something nobody's ever said before, right? Like all of these things. But I realized that a lot of these things are subjective. What is the perfect script? What is the perfect vocab? What is the perfect setting? I don't know. I was just saying, like, these were the things that I came up with in my head that I put in place as a roadblock. I could not tell you for the life of me what would actually meet that criteria. So I quickly realized that if I'm chasing an endpoint that I cannot even define, am I an idiot? It's very like, oh, I'll know when I feel it. It's like perfection is a vibe. Girl, well, I've never felt the vibe, and therefore I've never accomplished the things I'm trying to do. These goals are not measurable. And I think that's on purpose. We talked earlier about perfectionism being a protection mechanism. Our brain and our mind are creating these fake criteria to protect us from being vulnerable, being seen as imperfect, all that jazz. If we set these vibe coded goals that we know we'll never achieve because we just keep maybe moving the goalpost, or we're like, man, that's not what I meant. That's not perfect enough. We will never have to actually sit down and finish something and face being criticized. Tough. Unfortunately, I don't have a magical one size fits all solution that's going to fix all our lives and have us accomplish everything we've ever wanted to do since we were 5 in 2026. But I can tell you some reframes and some actionable mindset shifts that I'm going to be taking this year to try and feel a little bit better about my progress. Number one, I'm going to take discomfort, the feeling of discomfort, as a sign that I'm on the right track. Now, not all discomfort is good. Don't put yourself in dangerous situations or precarious situations. Like, don't take unnecessary journeys. But discomfort that comes with being seen, trying something new, feeling safely vulnerable, that discomfort is good. And a lot of times it can be a sign that you're stepping out of your comfort zone, you're growing, and you're doing something you haven't done before, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. In 2026, we are no longer insane. Second, I am going to deliberately finish things when they're not ready, when they're not finished. I'm using this as kind of an exposure therapy. For example, my goal is when I go back and edit this YouTube video, I guarantee you there's going to be places where I wish I said a different word, or I wish my sentence was a little bit smoother. I'm going to try and deliberately leave some things in this video that irk me, that feel less than perfect, as exposure therapy for realizing that nothing falls apart if you feel like something isn't up to these imaginary standards that you set. And number three, perfectionism can only live if we keep setting goals that are not measurable and we keep moving said goalpost. So if criteria must be set for a project or goal, the criteria is going to be very measurable, very achievable, and once that criteria is met, I am not allowed to go further. Right? Again, similar to exposure therapy. We're trying to create a habit of realizing that the world doesn't end when we're a little bit imperfect and a little bit vulnerable and a little bit scared. Definitely feel free to try out those 3 different tactics alongside me in this new year. And remember, I'm just a girl in her 20s trying to figure out my life and trying to be a little bit happier and more grateful every single day. Not a therapist. I don't have all the answers. I barely have any answers. But I think being honest and vulnerable is a really good first step. So, in the spirit of this video, if you've made it to the end, I invite you to try and resurrect one item from your own idea graveyard in this new year and share down below in the comments what that goal might be. I'd love to see. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.